Hello, my name is Jessica Carr, and I'm a graduate student at Ball State University working on my master's in ABA, and I'm here today to talk to you about prompting. Prompting is an important part of working with individuals on the autism spectrum. A prompt is an antecedent stimulus that raises the probability that the discriminative stimulus, or the SD, will produce the desired response. A prompt can be naturally occurring, like dirty hands is a cue that it's time to go wash. A prompt can be the result of antecedent manipulation, like having the game board set up before a session, or a prompt can be a direction or an instruction, such as telling a child to grab his lunch box for lunchtime. There are several levels of prompts that you can choose from, depending on the level of the learner. The most intrusive prompt would be a full physical assist, such as hand over hand when brushing teeth or writing name. Next would be a partial physical prompt. An example would be moving the learner's hand in the desired direction. The next level would be modeling the behavior you want. For example, modeling how to build a tower with blocks. An example of a gestural prompt would be pointing to the item that you want the learner to choose. A verbal prompt would be issuing verbal directions, telling the learner what you want them to do. For example, telling them to go wash their hands. The next level of prompt would be a visual prompt. An example of a visual prompt would be showing the learner a picture of a person brushing their teeth. And finally, the least intrusive prompt is when the learner is at an independent level. An example would be when the learner knows that they brush their teeth after breakfast, so they do so independently. As you can see on the graphic, there are two ways to go when it comes to prompting: least to most or most to least. Least to most prompts means that you would start with the least invasive prompt and progress towards the most invasive prompt until you get the desired result. For example, if you were trying to get a child to put his pencil away, you might begin with a verbal prompt: put your pencil away. If that didn't work, you could progress toward a gestural prompt, such as pointing to the pencil, then the pencil box. If that didn't work, you might progress towards physical prompts, such as nudging the learner's hand toward the pencil. Most to least prompts begins with the most intrusive and ends with the least intrusive prompt that gets the desired result, beginning with full physical and ending with independent. How do you know which way to go? Most to least intrusive should be used with learners that don't have the prerequisite skills to complete a task. And least to most prompting should be used when a learner has the skills to complete a task, but they aren't yet doing it. You want to start with the least invasive and increase invasiveness until the desired outcome is achieved. Another important aspect of using prompts is a process called fading. Fading is reducing the level of prompting so that the learner doesn't become dependent on prompts. You don't want a child to become so dependent on prompts that they can't perform a skill without assistance. There are a few ways you can fade prompts. You can use the least intrusive prompt that gets your desired result. For example, moving from hand over to hand when writing the name, to holding the wrist, to moving the arm back, moving your touch back to the elbow, to the shoulder, etc., until the child is independently writing their name. You could also delay the time between the given instruction and the implementation of a prompt. This means waiting more time before using the prompt. You could also fade your prompt by changing your proximity to the learner. For example, you might want to start across the table from the learner, then sit next to them, then slightly behind them, until you are no longer in their vicinity when they're doing the activity. So, a short recap. Prompts are antecedent stimuli meant to increase the probability of the discriminative stimulus happening. There are several levels of prompts, and you should ideally begin with the least intrusive and progress toward the most intrusive if your learner has the skills in place to perform the desired task. And you should always fade your prompts as soon as the learner shows competence in the skill so that they don't become prompt dependent. Thank you.